Welcome to your math homework for this week. I hope you enjoy using the video. The way this will work is I will present you a word problem. Then you will need to stop the video, solve the problem on your sheet of paper by drawing a bar model and writing your solution strategies very neatly. And then you can restart the video and check your work. We're going to be talking today about math stories, word problems, and using that strategy of drawing a picture of what's happening in the word problem. Our Asian friends call this a bar model or a tape diagram if you live in Japan. But the bar model helps us to understand what the different amounts in a story mean, as well as the relationship or how the amounts in a story are connected. Okay, here is the first problem. The steps you will do are to read the problem, stop the video, and then you will solve the problem neatly on your sheet of paper by drawing a bar model and then performing any operations that you need to. Then you will restart the video and check your work with my solution. So right now, stop the video and off you go. When we solve word problems, we've discovered that we must ask ourselves certain questions. One of those questions that's helpful to ask yourself is who or what's involved. I can see that Jason and Jake have quantities in this story, so I'm going to put their names in my picture. Good for them for saving money. The second question that is helpful to ask yourself, especially when you're drawing a bar model, is who has the smallest amount in the story? And I see that Jason saved 5 times as much money as Jake, so he has the most amount. So Jake has the smallest amount, so I'm going to give Jake the box from our story. Then I go back up and I see that Jason has 5 times as much money as Jake. So Jason will need to have 5 of these boxes that I have given to Jake. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm now showing that Jason has 5 times as much as Jake. Go back up to my story, and I have drawn that first sentence, so I'm going to read the second sentence. If Jake saved $1,094, I need to put that into my picture. So that's money, and it's $1,094 that's in this box that Jake has. And the rest of this question says, how much money did they save altogether? So altogether, I need to indicate that I'm talking about the total amount, and I want to know how much is that total amount. When I look at my picture, I see that I have 6 boxes that are all the same quantity, $1,094. So I really just need to multiply 6 times $1,094 in order to find out how much there is in all. So 6 times 4 is 24. Carry those 2 tens over. 6 times 9 tens is 54 tens, plus 2 is 56 tens. Move the 500s over. 6 times 0 is 0, plus the 500, and 6 times 1,000, of course, is 6,000. So altogether, there's $6,564. And that's the answer to my question. Okay, so check your work. Your drawing should look very similar to mine, and you should get the answer of $6,564. If you did not, see if you can figure out where your mistake is. Go ahead and correct that mistake. So when you turn your paper in, I see a corrected paper. And when you finish that, it's time to go to the next problem. Okay, here's the second problem. Again, you will read the situation, stop the videotape, draw a bar model using the operations you need to solve the problem. And then once you have your solution, turn the video back on and you can check your solution with mine. Okay, off you go. Good luck. When I read this problem, I see that Julia and Cameron are in the story, but they don't have quantities that I'm keeping track of. What I'm actually keeping track of are the people sitting in the first row and the people sitting in the next 10 rows. So that's what I'm going to put into my drawing is first row people and other rows. And again, I will ask myself the question of who has the smallest amount in comparing those two. And I see that there were 102 people sitting in the first row and 7 times as many sitting in the next row. So that's what I need to put into my story. Okay, so there's the small block for the one block for the first row. And then it says there's 7 times as many in all the other rows, so I'll need to duplicate that. 1 times as many, 2 times as many, 3 times as many, 4 times as many, 5 times as many, 6 times as many, 7 times as many. Now my story shows that the other rows have 7 times as many as were sitting in the front row. I still need to put into my picture that there are 102 people sitting in the first row, so that was 102. And now I've got my 7 times as many sitting in the next 10 rows, and then I go to my last sentence, how many people were sitting in this area of the gymnasium. So again, I want to know how many people there are in all. I'm going to use the same strategy that I used in the previous problem. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 blocks, and each one of them has 102 in it. So 8 times 102. 8 times 2 is 16. Bring that 110 over. 8 times 0 is 0 plus the 110. 8 times 100 is 800. So all together, there would be 816 people watching the gymnastics show. And I guess Cammie and Julia were 2 of those 816 people. All right, I hope you did well on it. Check your work. If you need to make corrections, make corrections. If not, let's move to the next story. Okay, here's your third problem. Again, it's the same pattern. You'll read it. Stop the video, then neatly draw a bar model and do any operations you need to solve the problem. I would suggest you be a little more careful in reading this because this is a different kind of situation. There's a different relationship between the quantities in this problem and what is being asked. So stop the video and off you go. As I read this problem, I see that there are 2 people with quantities in this story, and those 2 people, one of those people is Vikram, so I'll put his name in my picture, and the other person is Nathan. I'll put his name in the picture. Now I'm going to wondering who has the smallest amount. So I go back up and read. Vikram has 25 more video games than Nathan. So Nathan has the smallest amount. So I'm going to give Nathan the box. So I gave Nathan the box, and because he has the smallest amount. And when I go back up to my story, I see that Vikram has 25 more video games than Nathan. So Vikram has the same amount that Nathan has, only he has 25 more. So he has the same amount that Nathan has, but we're going to make it larger. We're making it larger because Vikram has 25 more than Nathan does. So what we know is here and here the two boys have the exact same amount, but this is 25 more than Nathan has. Now we go back up to our story and draw the next sentence. Together they have 61 games. So in this story, I do know the total amount, and that's 61 games. And my question is, how much does Nathan have, and how much does Vikram have? That's what I've got to find out. Now, as I look at my picture, and I'm thinking about how could I find out how much these big boxes represent, I realize that they are the exact same amount. So if I get rid of that 25, which I can get rid of the 25 by doing 61 and taking away the 25, so that means there's 36 left after I take away my 25. But that's 36 shared between these two boxes equally. So to find out how much is in one box, I would need to split that 36 in half. And I know I can do at least 10 groups of 2. That would be 20. So I have 16 left. 16 divided by 2, oh, I know that's 8 groups of 2. And 8 times 2 is 16, and I have none left. So I have 18 groups of 2. So that means that's 18 inside each one of these boxes. So Nathan has 18. That gives me his answer, and I'll need to add 18 plus the 25 to find out what Vikram has. And so I have 18 plus 25. 8 and 5 would be 13. And 2 tens plus 2 tens is 4 tens. So Vikram has 43. So Nathan has 18 video games and Vikram has 43 video games. Again, you want to check your work, make any corrections that you need to make, rethink anything that you need to rethink. And then off you go to the next problem. Okay, here's problem number 4. Same pattern, read the story. Stop the videotape, neatly draw your bar model, and work out a solution. Then once you've finished, you can turn the videotape back on and compare your solution with mine. Okay, good luck to you. Okay, as I ask myself that important question of who or what's involved in this story, I see that we're keeping track of boys and we're keeping track of girls. So boys and girls at the child care center. And because I'm comparing two different quantities, I'd like to know which amount was the smallest amount. And I go back to the story, which says the number of boys is 4 times the number of girls. So the boys have the most amount, so I'll give the girls the box. So I gave the girls the box, and I know that the boys are 4 times this amount, so I will need to duplicate that box. So that's 1 times as many, 2 times as many, 3 times as many, and 4 times as many, and I seem to have an extra box here, or several extra boxes that I'll need to get rid of. So my drawing now shows the relationship between the boys and the girls at the child care. The boys have 4 times as many as the girls, so I'll go back up to the next sentence in the story. If there are 450 children altogether, so I need to draw the amount that there is in all. There are 450 altogether. I want to know how many boys are there. So I want to know what is this amount. Now when I look at that picture, I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes that all represent the same amount. Altogether, there are 450. So if I take that 450 and I split it into 5 equal groups, that will tell me how many are in each group. So 450 divided by 5. I know I can't do 100 groups of 5, so I think I'll start with 50 groups of 5 because it's easy to multiply by 5. So that would be 25 tens, 250, and I would have 200 still left to put into groups of 5. So I can't do another 50, so I think I'll try 40. So I'll do 40 groups of 5. And 5 times 4 tens is 20 tens. So I have no more left to put into groups of 5. So that gives me 90 groups of 5. So now I know that each of these boxes represent 90. And I just need to find out how many the boys would have. So the boys have 4 boxes. So 4 times 90. 4 times 9 tens would be 36 tens, would be 360. So the boys have 360. There are 360 boys, and that's the answer to my question. So again, check your work, see how you did. You should have come to the solution that there are 360 boys, and your drawing should look similar to mine. Okay, here is your 6th problem. Same pattern, read the story, stop the videotape, neatly draw your bar model, find a solution, and then turn the videotape back on to check your answer. All right, off you go. All right, when I ask myself the question, who or what are we keeping track of in this story, who's involved, I see that we're keeping track of men and women who are at the park. Apparently, this is a park that does not have children. Very strange park. When I read the story to see the relationship between these two quantities, I see that there are 3 times as many men as women. So I will give the women the block, and I will give the men 3 times that amount. That's 1 times as many, 2 times as many, and 3 times as many. Now I have the relationship between the two quantities. I'll go back up to my story to the next sentence. It says, if there are 412 adults in the park. So I know that altogether I have 412 adults. Oops, 412 adults. How many women are there? So I want to know how many women are there. When I look at my drawing, I see that I have 3 blocks for the men and 1 block for the women. So that's 4 blocks. All 4 blocks have the same amount in them. So I can split the 412 people into 4 different blocks. And I know I can make 100 groups of 4. That would be 400 people. And that gives me 12 people left to split between the 4 blocks. So I know that 3 times 4 is 12. And I have no more people. There are 103 groups of 4, so that's 103 people in each block. And that actually answers my question, because my question was how many are in the women, and that would be 103. Okay, go ahead and check your work. You should have gotten 103 women. Correct any mistakes or errors you may have, and then you'll be ready for the next problem. Okay, here's your problem number 6, and as you can see, it's a little bit more complicated, so that you have 3 different quantities that you're going to see how they're related and to keep track of. All right, start asking those questions, who or what's involved, and off you go. So when I ask that question, who is involved, I see that there are 3 people actually involved. There's Balazs, and Cassie, and Titan. And now I'm wondering how to draw these boxes. I've got to go back to my story and see if I can figure out who has that smallest amount. Balazs spent 3 times as much as Cassie, so he's got more than Cassie, while Titan spent half as much as Cassie. So it sounds like Titan spent the least amount, so I'm going to give Titan the box. Now when I keep reading, I see that Titan spent half as much as Cassie, so I've got to double Titan's boxes in order to represent how much Cassie spent. So Cassie spent double the amount that Titan did, so I'm going to give her 2 boxes. And now I'm thinking about how do I draw Balazs. Well, Balazs spent 3 times as much as Cassie. So even though she's got 2 boxes, I've got to triple or do 3 times as many as much as what Cassie has and give that to Balazs. So here is 1 times as many as Cassie. Here's 2 times as many as Cassie, and then here's 3 times as many as Cassie. All right, so now when I look at my story, Balazs spent 3 times as much as Cassie, and Titan spent half as much as Cassie. So I think I've accurately drawn that in my picture. Now, I go to the question, how much more did Balazs spend than Titan? So what I actually want to find out is how much more Balazs spent. So the difference from here with what Titan spent and this amount that Balazs spent. So I want to know what that is. And I also know that altogether, in total, they spent $108. All right, when I look at my picture, I see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 equal boxes. So I'm going to split that $108 between the 9 equal boxes. That would be 10 groups of 9, which would be 90. I have 18 to still split between my 9 boxes. So that would be 2 in each box, because 2 times 9 is 18. And I have no more to split. That means I have 12 in each box. So if I have 12 in each box, I know that the difference between Titan and Balaj is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So all I have to do is say 5 times 12. 5 times 2 is 10. Regroup. 5 times 1, 10 is 5 tens, plus 1 is 6 tens. So Balaj spent $60 more than Titan did. So from here to here is $60 because there's $12 inside each box. Okay, now this was problem was a little bit more complicated, so you might have solved it a little bit differently than I did, but your drawing should be very, very similar, and you should get an answer of $60. Very good. All right, one more problem for tonight. Okay, this is the last of your problems, the 8th problem. And as you can see, it is quite complicated. There are 5 different numbers that are all related. So it's going to take quite a bit of perseverance and patience in order to solve this problem. Go slowly, try to solve it as best you can. If you get stuck with this one, play a little bit of the solution video and let the solution video guide you just a little bit, and then stop the solution video and see if you can figure out the rest of it. All right, off you go. I know you can do it. Okay, as I read this problem, I see that I have 5 numbers. So I have number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, it says the sum of 5 numbers is 500. The second number is 88 more than the first number. The third number is 20 more than the second number. The fourth number is 45 less than the third number. And the fifth number is 2 less than the fourth number. I think as I look at this problem, I'm going to start with the idea that number 1 is the smallest quantity. So I'm going to give 1 the box. And then it says the second number is 88 more than the first number. So I've got to duplicate that first number, but I'm going to make it 88 more. So I'll just draw that one in and say that this amount is 88 more. All right? That takes care of this part. The third number is 20 more than the second number. So I need to duplicate that second number, but I've got to add another 20 more onto it. So I've taken care of the first number, the second number, the third number, and I'm ready for the fourth number. The fourth number is 45 less than the third number. I think that's going to get very confusing trying to track within my bar. So I'm going to go ahead and total up what I know about number 3, which I know that 88 plus 20 is in part of number 3, and that of course is 108. And I'm going to go ahead and take away that 45 minus 45, and that gives me 6. So I have the fourth number is actually 63 more than the box. So I'm giving 44 the box, and then it's only 63 more than the box. So that takes care of the fourth number. If the fifth number is 2 less than the fourth number, well, that's pretty easy to do because I know that there's a 63 inside that fourth number. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 2, and that means it's 61 more. Okay, it's 61 more than the box, so I will give it the box. Sort of the same size, but only 61 more than the box. Whew. All right, let's see, what else do we need to put in there? Well, the very first sentence, the sum of 5 numbers is 500. I know that sum means I add. So all together, in all, these numbers will total 500. And I know that the boxes are all equal. That has the same amount of it. So if I can get rid of all of these extra numbers, I can divide by 5 to find out what's inside the box, which would give me what's inside number 1. So I'm going to add up all those numbers. So when I add together all of those numbers, I should get 320. Oops, I wrote one number wrong. That should be a 1. Let's make sure. 8 and 8 is 16, and 4 is 20. 8 and 8 is 16, 4 is 20, and 20 and 12 is 332 tens, or 320. So then I'll take the 500, and I'm going to take away that 320, which would leave 180. Now I know what's left in these boxes is equal to 180. So I can split the 180 into 5 different boxes. And let's write 30 groups of 5. And that would be 30 left. And let's try 6 groups of 5. On the left. And so I have 36. So that would give 36 inside each box. So my question was, what is the first number? And the first number is 36. Whew, that was a good one. A good one. All right, good job persevering here, guys. I know this last one was a bit complex, but I'm hoping you could follow the solution and it just made sense to you. Make sure you've got name on all papers and bring them into school. Boys for saving